Tolly, do you know that we tend to become those we admire? Who do you admire the most?
I'm so glad you asked me about the people who inspired me. The first person was an old woman named Hilda. She had studied in India for 19 years, and I met her, she was in her 60s. And she was my brother's meditation teacher. And I had already tried to kill myself. My heart had stopped. I was in the hospital for 4 months. When I came out of the hospital, he brought me to meet this woman, Hilda. She just looked like this old woman, but she had followers all over the world. She did a weekly class, and there were over 1,000 people in her class. So you know, she was a very special woman. And she looked at me and she said, "Why do you want to kill yourself?" I said, "Because when I get out of bed in the morning, it's just painful to be alive." She said, "Well, where's the pain? Is it in your legs? Is it in your arms?" She said, "Dummy, the pain is not in you. You could kill yourself and you would still be miserable. Wait until you're happy, then kill yourself." No one ever talked to me like that before. Suddenly, I realized that I could kill my body and I would still be miserable. That there was a dimension to life that I was not familiar with. And so I became her student. And she had another student named Ram Dass. Ram Dass has millions of followers all over the world, but I didn't know that. And so she's sitting in her apartment in New York, and she says to my brother, "Look, you take him in the taxi over to Ram Dass. I'll call Ram Dass and he'll expect you." And I go over and I meet this man, Ram Dass, and he was like a light bulb. He was radiant. The shine was so amazing. And he said, "Well, why would you want to kill yourself?" And so I told him about the horrible things I had done. I pretended I was dead. My parents had a funeral. How much more horrible can you be than someone who did something that awful? And he looked at me and he said, "You're so beautiful. You're so open. You're so honest." And here I am trying to tell him how ugly I am, and he keeps telling me how beautiful I am. And he says, "You have a melodrama. Everybody in the world has a melodrama. And behind that, here we are." And then he told me a story about this fabulous tailor named Zumbak. And people paid thousands of dollars for a Zumbak suit. And this man saves his money and saves his money. And finally, he goes for a fitting. He's going to buy a Zumbak suit. And it takes 3 weeks for the suit to be made. And when it's finished, the man goes to try on the suit. And he says, "But Zumbak, the collar doesn't fit right." Zumbak says, "You're not standing right. Stand like this." "Oh, yeah, the collar's fine. But when I stand like that, look, the sleeve is wrong." He said, No, you got to stand like this. But when I do that, look what happens to the bottom of the jacket. He says, "No, you got to stand like this." And so he leaves the house in his superb fitting suit. And somebody on the sidewalk says, "Oh, that must be a Zumbak suit." And he says, "How did you know?" He said, "Only a sensational tailor like Zumbak could fit a cripple like you." And Ram Dass says, "You're like this man wearing Zumbak's suit. You're twisting and turning. You're trying to be somebody other than who you really are. Just be yourself. Be who God made you to be." And so that was the second person. I thought, oh my God, I have to go to his classes. And I went to his classes. I went to Hilda's classes. And then I moved to California, and I met Ken Kai's. Oh my God. I had already read his book, Handbook to Higher Consciousness. And not once in that book, not once does he ever tell you he's paralyzed from the neck down. When he was 27 years old, he got polio. And I met him, he was 54, half his life. He was in that wheelchair. Someone has to dress him. Someone has to put him on the toilet and clean him. Someone has to brush his teeth. Someone has to feed him. And the most amazing thing was he radiated happiness. He radiated happiness. I thought, how is it possible to be paralyzed from your neck down, to be carried onto the toilet and be so happy? What have I got to be unhappy about? And he says, I can teach you to be happy. And he had a commune, and I moved into his commune, and in only 3 months, I was happy. And we wrote a book together, and it became an international bestseller. We just published the 45-year anniversary edition just recently. It's called How to Make Your Life Work, or Why Aren't You Happy? And Ken not only taught me how to be happy, like a subject science or arithmetic. It's happiness. He taught it like a subject. And I was so happy. I couldn't believe it. For the first time in my life, I was so happy. And so he would bring me into his seminars to talk about my transformation. And after a year with him, I left and I kept saying, use me, God, use me, God. And what happens? God hits me with a car and crushes my neck. And yet, that's a part of the teaching because it's a challenge. And some people, when they get a challenge, they give up. They feel defeated. When I get challenged, it makes me stronger. I have no mistakes in my life. People think that they have a mistake in their life, and I say, no, it's a lesson. It's an opportunity. In Chinese, the character for crisis is also the same character for opportunity. Mm. And so I was given many, many great opportunities to be a spiritual teacher. Because when I spend a weekend with people, I tell them about my neck and how I overcame the challenges. And I've been given more challenges than most people, but it's because I'm a spiritual teacher and I use those challenges to help people. And so I would say to anybody who would like to walk in my footsteps, just say, God, use me, God. And if you say it long enough and loud enough, you'll be used and you might be stunned. I never thought I'd be teaching people about God in front of a slot machine. But I take people to casinos the way other people take their students to church. Yeah. And, you know, I find how extraordinary, you know, that God gave me that opportunity to be a world teacher. I didn't seek it, but I certainly was chosen to do it.
Amazing. Tolly, what keeps you awake at night?
Nothing. Nothing keeps me awake. I sleep like a baby.
Oh.
I don't wet my bed, but I sleep like a baby.
Wow.
Wonderful. What advice would you give to someone starting out?
Pay attention to what you're thinking. People think, oh, this must be difficult. It's not difficult. Just look inside and notice what you're thinking. And if you're feeling terrible, quickly notice the thought. that caused that? And so you learn which thoughts you don't want in your head, and you go through the process of saying, shut up, and eliminating those thoughts. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. But it starts like a journey of 1,000 miles with that first step. If you don't take the first step, nothing's going to change. Your future will be just like your past. But once you choose to create a life that nurtures you, step by step, just like I did it, I'm no different than anybody else.
Tolly, what was something that you had to give up to get where you are today?
When I was a professional performer, I was an entertainer. As I told you, I was a clown magician. And I was a very successful clown magician. I entertained on the largest ocean liners, the luxury liners, the SS Michelangelo doesn't even exist anymore. And when I was a professional entertainer, I had a very large ego. I liked to talk about myself. I liked to promote myself. It was always about me, me, me in any conversation. But after I woke up spiritually, and that's what it is like. It's like waking up. All of a sudden, there was no me. It came through me. And I'll share a little story. When I met Ken Kais, I was so elated. Finally, I was happy. Someone taught me how to be happy. And so I went out on street corners and I gave out flyers about his open house, flyers about his seminars. And this was in 1973. And, you know, if someone's on the sidewalk handing out flyers, most people ignored me, just walked right past me. And so I thought, I'm not being very effective because not many people are taking my flyers. And so I got this very adorable little puppet of a rabbit. Oh, it was the cutest little rabbit. And I manipulated the rabbit and I put the flyer in the rabbit's paws, and the rabbit would offer the flyer. And just about everybody took a flyer from the rabbit. And this one woman stops and she's talking to the rabbit. And she said, "You are adorable." And I said, it looks real, doesn't it? She said, "Shut up, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the rabbit." I'm thinking, wait a minute. Doesn't she realize I am the rabbit? And I feel like when I do my work, teaching seminars, either in a casino or at a firewalk, that I'm really a rabbit puppet and that God is coming through me. And my God is not a male, my God is a female, the mother, Gaia, the divine mother. And I feel like my mother has her hand up my ass and is talking through me and doing everything through me, just like I'm the rabbit puppet. And people think, oh, it's Tolly Burkan. But it's not Tolly Burkan. It's my mother. And I don't take any credit. Not now, not ever. And so that's a big change.
Wow. Brilliant.
Yes. Tolly, what is the story behind your success?
Well, the story behind my success is that I got out of my way, that I surrendered to a higher power. And if I tried to use the same techniques when I was an entertainer and tried to promote myself, I wouldn't have been successful, I'm convinced. But it's only because I surrendered. And because I surrendered, I've been used. And so usually when people try to be successful, they assert themselves. And what I'm saying is get out of the way and let a higher power come through you. And you'll be much more successful than if you try to do it yourself.
Wonderful. What mistakes have you made along the way?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes I made was I would keep forgetting that it's the higher power doing this work through me. And so I would come up with these great ideas. I think, oh, this is a good idea. I'll make a flyer. I'll make a poster. But that was not a good idea. The best thing is I just let go and let go. And I don't do anything to make the phone ring. I didn't contact you. And yet it all seems to have been happening almost as if by magic. And people think I'm doing something, but I'm not doing anything. I'm getting out of the way.
Wow.
Awesome.
And surrender, you know, it's not like military surrender. I'm not sure. Is this, I just got a message. Is this showing up on the screen or only I see it? Okay. When people think of surrender, they think that's negative. When you surrender in war, that means you've been defeated. If you surrender, it means you're a loser. But the surrender that I'm talking about is completely opposite of that kind of surrender. It's not giving up anything. When you surrender your ego to a higher power, you become more powerful. And so when I'm talking about surrender, I'm talking about a way to become more effective, to become more powerful, to be more spiritual. And I've made millions of dollars, and most of it I've given away because I never felt like it belonged to me. I felt I've been used, and I feel that just as wisdom comes through me, not from me, the money I give away comes through me, not from me. And I want to be remembered as someone who did good while he was here on the planet. And I do good in so many different ways. When I was younger, I would visit hospitals and do magic shows in each of the rooms for all the patients. I used to volunteer with the Boy Scouts. I used to volunteer with hospice and spend time with people who were dying. I give away money and scholarships to students. I do interviews on the radio, and just like we're doing now, I feel this is a service because I know somebody who's watching right now needs to hear something that was said. And I didn't know what I needed to say, but I trust that there's a higher power who knows what needs to be spoken to touch the people who are with us today.
Yes,
Yes.
brilliant.
What did you have for breakfast today?
Plain yogurt. Every day, plain yogurt.
If you could start all over again, what would you do differently?
I would have gotten on a spiritual path a lot earlier in life. I told you my brother took me to his meditation teacher. My brother, he was 5 years younger than me, and he started on the spiritual path when he was only 16. All the books that he read were spiritual books, self-improvement books, books that would improve understanding, open your heart to compassion. And I didn't learn that lesson until I was 24. And so if I had it to do over again, I would have gotten on the spiritual path a lot sooner. And again, I want to say that there's no difference between spiritual growth and emotional growth. And so people who have mental problems and emotional problems, getting on the spiritual path is the solution. And sometimes we don't get on the spiritual path until we're motivated by so much pain, that the pain is so unbearable that it either defeats us and kills us or it motivates us. And so I might say, I wish I had more pain in my life sooner, because maybe it would have motivated me sooner. But the turning point is when you stop saying, oh, poor me, why me? And you realize, wait a minute, this is just fuel to get me started on a whole new path.
Yes.
Wow. Awesome.
Tolly, how do you push through your worst times?
Well, I remember words from my teachers. Hilda, all of my teachers are dead. They're all in heaven, but they're all still talking to me. And sometimes I just go, Hilda, please, what should I do? And if I ask, I always hear the answer. But sometimes it takes me a while to remember to ask. But I feel very blessed. I feel that my teachers are still with me. All I have to do is ask, and they will give me guidance. And in my book, Extreme Spirituality, I have a whole chapter on how to receive guidance. So even if you don't have a spiritual teacher, you can still receive spiritual guidance, but you have to ask for it. You have to want it.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Tolly, if you would have world's microphone for a few minutes, what would you say to the world?
I would tell the world a story. When I was taking care of my father, he was dying. He abused me when I was young. He abused me horribly. And so I never really loved him, but I felt I owed him because of the funeral and the pain I put him through, that I owed him to take care of him. And a friend of mine said, you don't have to love him. Just feel compassion for him. And as soon as I tried to feel compassion, oh my God, my heart opened. I could see so many reasons to have compassion for this man. And as citizens of the world, we don't have to love our neighbors, but we need to have compassion. We deserve compassion, and it's something we can so easily bring to any relationship with any other human being, to just feel compassion for them. I listen to people tell me about their lives, and it just makes me want to cry sometimes, because I'm a compassionate person now. But I wasn't always a compassionate person. So if I had a microphone, I would tell people what I learned when I took care of my dying father. It looked like I was serving him, but he was really serving me. And if you can wake up every day and go through the day with compassion, your life will be transformed and the world will be transformed.
Yes.
Excellent. How did you?
I hope you come and watch some of the free videos on my website. My website is tollyburkan.com, and you can spend hours watching free videos. There's so much free information on my website. I encourage you to watch some of the videos with your friends or people that you love, because they're all meant to expand your thinking and awareness.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you.
How did you extend or expand your paradigms or belief to fulfill your dreams?
Well, I used to do everything myself, and it was an effort. And when I woke up and realized if I surrender and let a higher power use me, there won't be any effort. It'll be like being a puppet. And my motto is let it be easy. I have a book called Let It Be Easy. And I want my life to be easy. And so when I realized I was expending too much effort making things happen, I decided to let my life be easy and let things happen instead of making things happen. And now I let go and let God.
Wow.
Awesome.
Tolly, how can people find you?
Well, the only thing I do now is interviews. I don't do any more seminars. I don't lecture. But my website, tollyburkan.com, has so much information on it. People can't just breeze in and breeze out. Spend hours, day after day, go back. I also wrote songs. My songs also are meant to make you more effective and more aware. The songs are free. Listen to my music. The books, you have to buy the books, but there's also free books, free ebooks on my website. And so it's like a treasure chest. I invite you to pay a visit.
Thank you, Tolly, for accepting our invitation. And we know this interview will inspire many people to believe in their dreams.
Thank you. Thank you for have an easy day. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.